Hello and welcome back to Blue Rose Minis. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint the scales I have on this palindrome for the knights that I am currently working on. So what I'm going to be painting more of these scales on is going to be the fist or the hand. So we're just going to go ahead and paint it right on here. So if you happen to magnetize your knights like I did, then you're just going to remove the parts that this hand is magnetized just to make it easier for you to position your hand and paint. Now, the primary colors that I'm going to be using to create the light and dark variations that we see there is going to be Abaddon Black, Uthram Gray, and a paint that I mixed up myself, which I call Dragon Red. Now what I used to actually mix up this paint were about 3 of these little mixing pots. And I'll tell you why only 3, because I did add some more paint to this, obviously. So what I did is that I had an artificer tin set, and the paint mixture that I used for this particular mix was 3 Logar, so 3 Logar per pot. So what I mean per pot is per each one of these. So I ended up putting 9 scoops of Logar for 3 pots of paint. Then I went ahead and put in 1 pot of Kurtz. So that ended up just being a flat 3. And then I also went ahead and put in 3 Rogodon, or 1 per pot, to make this dark crimson red. Now, the Artificer tin set is out of stock on the site. I was just fortunate enough to be able to find one of these sets at one of my local hobby shops, and I went ahead and picked it up when I had the opportunity to. So getting back to our little paint project, that is the paint that you are going to be needing. So first of all, we're gonna mix up our custom red with some Abaddon Black, and this will be how we start getting the shapes of the scales. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off dark to light, because you can always add more dark rather than light. But we're going to have to be very careful with this, because if we add too much of the dark colors, it can be overpowering. So make sure you have your palette nearby, and we want to mix it to where it's just a slightly darker color than what we have started out with. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but that's kind of the dark color that we want. So now, just starting from the top, we're just gonna begin making almost like fish scale like. So as you can see, it's very faint, but that is what we want. So we're just gonna go ahead and continue that until we have fully covered the gauntlet. And when you're doing this, you are going to want just a very small fine tip brush, just so you can control the paint a little bit more. And you'll see that as the paint starts to dry, it becomes darker, which is fine, because we're just kind of using this as a stencil, just so we know what we are doing. So along that line right there. Alright, so this is what we should be looking at once we have our outline done. As you can see, it is very hard to see, but that is okay. So now what we are going to be doing, we are going to be mixing Uthram Gray. So we're going to be mixing up the lighter part of the scales now. So as you can see, that like pinkish dot. Okay, so now that we have that color, and as you can see, I'm just kind of grabbing from the same original pot, trying not to mix all of the colors together. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you can go ahead and make like different spots for the different color mixtures that we are going to be doing. But if you don't really mind, then just go with it. So taking the same small point, we are going to, so this is going to be slightly tricky. So you're going to want to imagine where the lights will be hitting these scales. So for the top ones, obviously they're more exposed, so you're going to go ahead and paint more of the top scales. So I'm actually gonna turn this towards me, guys. Sorry if you guys can't see what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna try my best to keep it in focus. When doing this, you want to make sure that you keep within the guidelines that you have already painted. And it doesn't matter if this step is messy, because in the next and final step, we are going to be cleaning it up a little bit. So when you get to the second row, what you're gonna do is, it's gonna kind of form almost like a popsicle shape, I want to say. But you're just gonna go right in the middle of the top two and you're gonna drag some color down. And again, it doesn't matter if you're messy with this stage, because we are gonna go ahead and clean it up. And if you don't exactly remember where you put the scale shapes, then that's okay. Just kind of go in between, because right now, as you can see, it kind of looks like a cheetah or like a leopard pattern here with just these bright spots. You can just gauge it by going almost directly in the center of what you previously painted. So I actually lied when I said that this next step was the final step. This is actually the second to last step. So going back to our mixture, we're gonna go ahead and mix a dark but slightly lighter than what we first used. I know that sounds weird, guys, but just bear with me, okay? And again, we're just using the same brush, so in between switching paints, even though they are from the same color palette, it can mess up the color scheme that we are going for. So just make sure that you wash it thoroughly before using it again. So we have a slightly darker color than this original. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and clean up the pink spots that we currently have. So when doing this, we are really just shaping it. So we're just taking this color to fix the bottom of these pink globs, because we will be cleaning up the tops in just a moment. Now at this point, everything is really hard to see, but just go ahead and just keep in mind that it scales, and it helps if you go from the top of what you did downward. Alright, so now that is cleaned up a little bit, we are going to go in with just pure Abaddon black. We're not going to be mixing or anything. This is what's going to really make the scales pop and give it this nice cool little effect. And if you end up with something that doesn't really look like scales, then it looks like a pretty cool intricate design. Heck, if you think it looks more like leopard spots, then you could pass it off for leopard spots or whichever animal with spots that you want it to be. So, just taking pure Abaddon Black here. And the first thing that we are going to do, we are gonna redefine the shapes of these scales. So let me get you a closer look. So that is kind of what we are working with at this state. You're just gonna want to go ahead and repeat that on the other side, and then we will be right back. Alright, so once you are done redefining the scales, we are going to be sticking to the Abaddon Black. We're almost gonna go over the lines that we just did, except we're gonna go in the middle and drag it out a little bit, just to give it the appearance of a shadow. And then we are just gonna do this all the way down. Alright, so after that, we are going to let this dry, and as you can see, you now have some pretty cool looking scales. Now, I do realize that these scales do look more on the fish side of things, but that is because I am taking inspiration from, I think it's Japanese dragons? Japanese or Chinese mythical dragons, and that's why the scales look like the way they do. And a way to make this appear shiny and glossy and nice, to make it shiny, and I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the paladron to show you while the gauntlet dries. We're gonna be using Art Coat just to give it a shiny, glossy finish. Alright, so as you can see, that gives it a nice, shiny appearance. So now, and from what I noticed, having your own like pre-mixed shade tends to dry faster, but the only issue that I've come across thus far is that it does have a grainy feel to it afterwards. I don't know if that's just because of how I mixed it or because of the fact that I was using older paint that had separated, and I kind of like remixed it while I was mixing my color. I don't know, but just be aware if you're not having that problem with your pre-mixed color, or even store-bought color, if you found a color that you really liked and just picked it up at the store, then you could go ahead and skip this step altogether if you want. I'm doing this not only to protect the paint that I just put on, but in order to stop any flaking off that might happen when handling my knight model. But anyway, I thank you for joining me today on Blue Rose Minis. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please like and subscribe, and leave all comments down below.